Hi, how you doing? One of the things that crops up a lot in the comments of my videos is that sporting martial arts like judo, BJJ, boxing aren't actually martial arts at all. Clearly, that's absolute and I'm going to tell you why. This video is going to be split into two parts. The first explaining why the sporting application of martial arts is, and always has been, a vital part of the art, and the second, why it's a flawed argument from the very start. So before we dive into it, let's get the context clear so we all know what we're talking about. The argument goes a little like this. That's a sport, not a martial art. It's too constrained by the rules to be effective in the real world, and proper fighting would destroy it. Martial arts means arts of war, not play fighting. I'm sure if you've spent much time here at all, you'll have come across that point of view. There's so much wrong with it that it's hard to know where to start. But we have to start somewhere, so here goes. These are pole arms. Matt from Schola Gladiatoria recently did a video ranking pole arms. Obviously I disagree with Matt because that's kind of my thing, whether I actually believe it or not. But the video's well worth a watch. Which one is best is not something we're going to get into here. What we care about is the fact that it's blindingly obvious that these are all based on agricultural weapons. In the main, some form of axe or billhook. It's very clear that the early forms of these weapons were actual agricultural tools, simply reshafted to make them more effective as a weapon. If you were to put one on a small handle, then it wouldn't be far off a farming tool again. The same is true for a large number of Eastern martial arts weapons. They're agricultural tools repurposed for fighting. This isn't something anyone can really deny. And yet, while we can all accept that a hooked tool used for pruning branches from trees can be a weapon of war in a different place, some people seem to struggle with the idea that the wrestling people did on the village green can be just as effective on a battlefield, that the kickboxing we do in the gym can be effective on the street, that someone supremely skilled at taking your back and choking you until you tap may, just may, also be able to take your back and choke you until you die. Combat sports are how we practice fighting without killing or maiming our friends. We do it now in a nice warm room with a padded floor, but in the Middle Ages it was done in the market square on feast days or in formal tournaments where blunt weapons were used. Whether it's the octagon of the UFC, the boxing ring in Madison Square Garden, the jousting lists at Kenilworth Castle, or the archery competition on the village green on Midsummer's Day, sporting competition has always been a part of martial training, and always will be. To pretend that real fighting can't be practiced, or that rules make it ineffective, is to ignore thousands of years of history, full to the brim of indisputable evidence to the contrary. And even worse, to claim that the martial art you do is too deadly to be able to be practiced is self-delusion of the worst kind. Anyway, that's part one. As promised, let's look at part two. If you'd lived 800 years ago, you'd know that to be called sly would have been a compliment. It meant skillful, wise, or clever. It certainly didn't mean sneaky or deceitful the way it does today. Like a lot of things in the English language, remnants of this original usage remain. We talk about sleight of hand in magic, referring to an intricate and difficult skill. Awful used to mean impressive. Nice used to mean foolish, and silly used to mean venerable. Language changes over time. A word or phrase that has a specific meaning may not have had that same meaning 100 years later. Down and out might well mean homeless with no money, but originally it referred to a fighter being unconscious on the ground. Throwing your hat into the ring is used to signify your willingness to attempt something, but originally was specific to Cumberland and Westmoreland wrestling. Up to scratch just means good enough in today's language, but originally a fighter had to literally come up to the scratch drawn on the ground at the start of a round. A stickler for the rules was the man whose job it was to judge a bout in Cornish wrestling. Meanings evolve, and their usage in society changes over time. So yes, martial arts may well have originally meant the arts relating to the god of war, But that's not what the term means today. Very clearly, to anyone with the willingness to look, the phrase martial arts refers to any number of systems of fighting practiced for sport, for self-defense, for personal growth, or simply for enjoyment. There's no restriction on how effective an art has to be to count as a martial art, and there's no exclusion criteria because a specific art's evolved more than another one. So let's stop the semantic arguments, and let's just get back to training, eh? So over to you. What do you think? Am I right, or have I completely missed the point? Stick something in the comments and let's have a bit of a chat. I realise that by my standards this has been a pretty short video, but I hope you've enjoyed it all the same, and that maybe, if you haven't already, you'd consider subscribing. In reality, it doesn't make a lot of difference to your experience of YouTube, but it does change the way my channel's promoted by the algorithm. If you'd like to support me in a more direct way, then you can either click the thanks button under the video or sign up as a patron over at patreon.com/EnglishMartialArts. A massive thank you to my fight team for making it to the very end. I love you. Fight team!